Tea Party, Ken Rees, UKIP, Nia Griffith, Labour, Scott Jones, TUSC, Saline Saxby, Conservatives, Sian Kayak, People First, Vaughan Williams, Plaid Cymru.
Is about impact on connected from Westminster. And the question is, what impact do you think that you can make on connected from Westminster? Okay, on the citizen part, Sean, with you. I have to tell you, so we're going to have the buzzer back, so we've been told that they run the volume down a little bit. So can we just have a little example of that so we know what to expect? Is everybody still alive now? Okay, a bit better than earlier on. And that's what Sean did the second as well. So, remember it's 1 minute each, and again in the clock rotation this way. And then once everybody's done, if people want to have a right to you get a if you can give us the 27th warning. Just as fine. Well, actually, no, I'm not. That's right.
As long as somebody says 20 seconds, we can't look around.
Yeah. Yes, please. Okay, I'll give you a reference in a second.
Okay, right. Okay. Right, the impact of Llanelli of having me as your MP will be that I'm basically going to represent Llanelli. I will ask you before decisions are made, if it's at all possible, and I will take your opinions into consideration, and I won't just assume that that I know what's best for you, because obviously I don't think any of us here on every issue know what's best for people in Llanelli. We have to find out. Now, there's lots of things in Westminster, and I won't make the mistake I made last night and suggest that I would put myself around it more than perhaps I should. But basically, if they were there, if there's something that doesn't really affect Llanelli, but that somebody is offering me for my vote something for Llanelli that you would like, I'm prepared to go that way. I think you got it.
If I'm elected your MP next week, I think you can be very confident that David Cameron will be your Prime Minister at that time. And and therefore, as part of the Conservative government at Westminster next week, I will be very proud to continue delivering jobs, employment and future growth in Llanelli. I will also therefore have time, because we will have such a large majority, to be able to be in the town centre a little bit more, using my business experience to work with your Chamber of Trade to boost tourism, where I've spent today, where I've heard all they need is a brown sign to bring more traffic to the town centre. So I will be able to fight for those local causes. But if there is a Conservative government next week, and if I have the pleasure to be part of it, we will be delivering a long-term economic plan and bring prosperity to Llanelli.
Well, if I should be elected, it would be quite an impact in itself, and it would certainly reverberate. UKIP gives candidates their own thoughts to be expressed. They're not bound by party whip, so therefore free speech will be made. I have served this town as a town mayor, as a councillor for the Llanelli ward on both Carmarthenshire County Council and previously on Dyfed County Council. I have a good understanding of the needs and the way Llanelli has evolved. And I will speak out for this constituency from border to border. Thank you very much.
Just one socialist, as Dave Nellis, a former, our leader and a comrade of ours who was an MP in the 80s, but just one socialist in Parliament could have a massive impact in exposing and attacking the other party, flying the flag of socialism, fighting for working class people. And that's what I would do. You know, I'm not a politician or a careerist, I'm a working class fighter. That's why I'd be in Parliament, fighting austerity, fighting the cuts, fight in the interest, against the interests of big business and in the interests of working class people and put their demands and their aspirations and what they need on the agenda. You know, the only people who would pull my strings are, of course, the people of Llanelli, not big business, or like the people who are sort of driving the likes of Jack Straw and Malcolm Rifkind, you know. The only people who would pull my strings are the people of Llanelli and working class people. And that's one of the reasons why, if elected, I would actually only take the average wage of a worker in Llanelli, only about a third of the £67,000 I'd be entitled to, and give the rest to workers in struggle and the labour movement and community campaigns. Thank you.
I think what we need for Llanelli is an MP who will speak up for the people, who will represent the people of this constituency. We need an MP who does not have a 100% voting record with the party line and is a careerist. We need an MP who is independent of thought and mind and will not kowtow to party whips or put constituents before party. Politicians work for the people and never, ever the other way around. We need an MP who has passion and desire for a fairer future for all of our people. I would fight Tory and Labour cuts and austerity, bring in equality for the people of Wales. I would be a voice for the disabled, the elderly and those most in need. It's time we had an MP who puts Llanelli first and not London. Let's have Llanelli's future in Llanelli's hands.
Well, if I was elected MP for Llanelli, we'll have one hell of a party, that's for sure. my wife's already got plans for communal gardens in Downing Street. But as far as Llanelli is concerned, the most important thing to do is to meet the needs and desires of the people of Llanelli and the surrounding area. And hold a public meeting, establish a task force made up of and consulting with community members of relevant expertise, and then entrusting them with responsibility to create a more self-reliant and self-sufficient community. We would encourage everyone, regardless of political beliefs, to pull together, create a local network of tradespeople and artisans, approach the colleges to offer training in appropriate crafts and skills, suggest that shop rent will be drastically reduced, that farmers are helped to produce organic, healthy but diverse and sustainable crops to be sold and consumed locally and for a decent return. We'd also encourage artists and musicians to make sure that cheap and efficient bus service.
The biggest impact that a Labour government can have on Llanelli is putting money in people's pockets. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be tackling the cost of living crisis. We're going to be freezing energy prices and reforming the energy companies so that when wholesale prices fall, then your electricity and gas bills fall. We're going to protect the state pension. We're going to keep the heating allowance for old age up to an earning threshold of £42,000. We're going to raise the minimum wage to over £8 an hour, tackle the 0 hours contracts, get rid of them, and incentivise employers to give a living wage. We're going to deliver fair funding for Wales with an additional £375 million per year for Wales so we can protect public services. We're going to sort out the work capability assessments and personal independence payments so people don't have to rely on food banks. We want a wealthier Llanelli.
Do any of the candidates want to come back to the front then? Go on, yeah, go on first.
It's interesting now listening to Nia's comments. I don't know how we're going to have a better society, Nia, when you voted for £30 billion worth of Tory cuts. I don't know how we're going to have a better society, Nia, when a Labour Party voted for the welfare cap, which, according to Save the Children, risks pushing 325,000 extra children into poverty. I don't know how we're going to have a fairer society when a Labour Party believes in spending weapons of death above on the people. Was it Labour also that introduced ATOS, which puts people through what they're going through right now? I don't know how we're going to have a fairer society of Labour when they don't support fair funding for the people of Wales and slashing £1.2 billion from our budget. Not my figures, those of the IFS. That's not equality, that's inequality to the people of Llanelli and inequality to the people of Wales.
What I'd just like to make clear is that on the figures that are out at the moment, because I know people often accuse politicians of not telling the truth, it's almost impossible for Ed Miliband to form a government. The only way he will walk into number 10 Downing Street next week is propped up by the SNP. And although I will go from Llanelli to Westminster and fight for fair funding for Wales, there is not a chance that while Scotland and the SNP are dictating the agenda, that the Barnett formula is going to be changed one iota. And so I think if you are looking for fair funding, it would be much better to look for a Conservative-led administration. At least you know what you're getting.
But I really must come back on the blight comments. It's about time we learn the difference between the Tories and Labour. It's absolutely clear that what we want is a very clearly costed manifesto. In other words, every promise that we've made in that manifesto, which I should be proud to vote for, is costed. It's costed, and our programme is completely different from that of the Tories, which is far more severe in terms of cuts. We want to bring the deficit down much more gradually. We want to make sure we get the money in from those who've got the broadest shoulders who can afford to pay, so we have a fairer and more equal society. And I think Plaid have got a real blind spot. They can't tell the difference between the Tories and Labour. They don't know which one they're going to prop up. They've propped up the Tories in the past. So just be careful. If you vote Plaid, you might very well get Tory. If you want to have a fairer society, you have to vote Labour.
Well, I think you've seen a little illustration here about what is wrong with political parties, because they're spending more time slagging each other off than they are thinking about how they can actually cooperate together and asking you what you want. I think we might as well pass a piece of paper around and say what is the most important thing you want politically, because that's what we should be delivering from Westminster. And Vaughan, if you think that there isn't a width in Plaid Cymru, it's changed a lot since I was in the party. And I think that is the problem. And that's the problem. I think if we're all acting like football teams, then, God help our country, because these are really hard times. And, we actually all need to forget some of the problems we've had in the past and what's gone before, and actually work with what we have and work with the people we represent.
I'd just like to come back on the word austerity. It's been taken as a dirty, nasty word, but the whole truth of it is that it's on past behaviour. We're now experiencing what has been managed previously by Labour and now by Conservative. But it's tightening of the purse strings time. If you've had a good Christmas, February is always a rough month. Home economics. Why can't they learn it at government level? Gordon Brown's famous words, fiscal prudence, won't be taken in by those words. The reality of it is there has had to be a coalition, and they have worked hard in bringing the deficit down. Don't complain about it. It's overspending of the past. You've got a new party that you can work for now and vote for. Thank you very much.
I mean, austerity is a dirty word, I've got to say. The national debt isn't real, it's the private banks. The whole financial system needs to change, really. If we change the financial system to create a national monetary authority which created money, we would have no debt. The debt is a rich man's trick. It's to keep the poor down. We also need to stop propping up the multinationals. Tesco's, when they were here, had first of all 10 years free rent in the town centre. After that, they were given 10 years free rent in Trostre. After that, Trostre was then sold to a private company. That kind of thing's got to stop. If local people, small businesses got that support, we'd see a much healthier society.
It's extremely rare for me to agree with a Tory, but Celine is right when she said, I agree with her when she says that Labour are not going to get a majority in this general election. And that's because they're not a working class socialist party anymore, for all the reasons Vaughan outlined. I'll say to Vaughan as well, you call yourself a socialist, but I wouldn't necessarily say Plaid are a socialist party anymore.
Can we address Mr.
That's fine. the point I'm making is that we need a new party of Labour, a party that actually deserves and earns the name Labour, a party that supports trade unions, fights working class people, and puts socialism back in the agenda. That's what TUSC is trying to build, and that's what we need in this country.
I know it's a kind of reply to the policy, but we're going to So the last question this evening is about the Home Parliament, and the question is, what would you do in the event of a Home Parliament? Who could do you, and who would you hand the phone on? Okay, and we're going to start.
Well,
Sorry, can I say, so it's the same again, so it's 1 minute each, and then the rest of the side.
well, I think there will be a Home Parliament, and in the event that I would be elected, I wouldn't sell my vote to any of the parties that are probably going to be forming the coalition, because they're all, in one way or another, committed to austerity, not committed to working class people, and not putting the demands we want to see. We want to fundamentally change society and build a new force that won't be trapped up in forming coalitions here, there, and everywhere. We'll get a majority of people on their side in this country, giving them what they want, and so we can change politics and change the society for the better completely.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Just so everybody knows what to expect. Go on, bits of
Well, why should the word be hung? When you say a hung parliament, you're putting the wrong emphasis on it entirely. Cooperation parliament, consensus parliament. Why can't we have parties working together in coalition? Why has it, it's the reality. It's all over Europe. We went in after the Second World War, I say we, the British troops went in and established in Germany and in Italy the democratic system. They've accepted the system, and look at the way that they are successful. Why can't it be applied here? Our regions, all of our regions have proportional representation and partnership working. The only one that's standing out as the odd one is Westminster itself. So it is a case of a break and a control factor that the second party is involved in government today.
I'm in the wrong way. I'm confusing myself and everybody else. So we're near the end there, guys. Okay, so you've got it. I would dispute that there's going to be a hung parliament. The Conservatives only need 23 more seats to win an outright majority, and that is what we are working towards. Should that not happen next week, I genuinely think we will win a majority next week. But should that not happen, I would just like to remind people of what I said earlier. The polls show very clearly that every seat in Scotland will fall to the SNP from Labour, which does mean Labour cannot produce a majority on its own. So the Conservatives, last time there wasn't quite a majority, did take the responsible decisions that the country needed and went into a formal coalition to ensure the future stability of our economy and brought it back from the brink. And rest assured that if that situation arises next week, I have no doubt that David Cameron will do the best for this country.
Well, one of the advantages of being in People First is that one of our principles is that we never join coalitions. And the reason is that it's as well as that has been in a political party, isn't it? Somebody else is going to tell you what to do, and you may not agree with it. The people who you represent may not agree with it. And coalitions also, and I think smiling county councillors in front of me will know, can sometimes get you into trouble because you end up having to support people who perhaps don't actually behave the way that you want to. And so I think coalitions are a bad idea, because political parties are a bad idea, quite honestly. But it's a great opportunity for Llanelli, because on a case-by-case basis, if you were telling me which way to vote, I would be happy to do so. And selling my vote for you on your behalf is not a bad thing.
Well, we're certainly going to go for an all-out majority. That's what we want to do, and we're aiming for that. I think the SNP has been wildly hyped. There are 29% of people in Scotland who haven't yet made up their mind which way they're going to vote, and I think we may well return a lot more MPs than people, Labour MPs than people suspect. I think the key thing after that would be that if we can't manage to be a majority, then we'd be willing to try it as a minority government. That's happened before, people have made it work before. If other people, fellow travellers, want to come along and vote with us, that's fine by them. But our position is quite clear that we are the Labour Party, we're standing for Labour Party values, and that's what we will be governing on.
The Green Party wouldn't go into coalition with anyone as the current system stands. You've only got to look at the Lib Dems record to see why. Their pledges to scrap student fees and to bring in PR just disappeared to nothing. We need proportional representation. It's possible that between 5 and 10% of the population will vote for Green. It's possible that Greens might not have any seats. We might get half a dozen, but that won't be enough to go into coalition with any other party. We need to change the system.
Despite the scare tactics, we've said on many occasions, Leanne, in the leaders' debate, that we would not prop up or work with the Tories under any circumstance. Just to put that one to bed straight away. Your scare tactics don't work any longer. It's about getting the best deal for Wales. Fighting zero-hour contracts. 58 Labour MPs, by the way, employ staff on zero-hour contracts. I would be happy to work with Labour neither. They are so similar to the Tories. Cuts. Welfare caps. The Tories have cut £1.5 billion from the Welsh budget. Labour would cut £1.2 billion if elected next week. Similar amounts from similar parties. Westminster doesn't work for Wales. Westminster has forgotten about Wales. And does Labour and Nia believe that the people of Wales deserve fairness and equality with funding of Scotland? Or are the people here tonight worth less? I think it's time we demanded fairness and parity with Scotland. If elected next week, I would work with progressive parties who oppose Tory Labour cuts.
I think that we're seeing here polarisation of attitudes, and quite honestly, in the situation that we're in, I think to actually make absolute decisions about things may not be the right thing. Now, I agree that coalitions are probably a bad thing, unless you're very close in what you feel, and even then, things are going to change. Crises will happen, and policies will not be as they are in the manifesto. But I think that on an individual base, on individual items and laws, we should all be prepared, if we agree with them, and the people that we represent agree with it, to actually work with anybody, because nobody has got a monopoly on good ideas. And it's time that we got a more cooperative government in Westminster and throughout all the stages of government in the country.
Okay, I think everybody's going a bit tired now. So we come to the end of questions, so there's just the closing to do. And what we're going to do is we'd like to invite candidates just to do their closing remarks. And what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is when you get up to answer the question, what exactly work for you, I want you to look at the audience out there and look at the cross range of ages, of cultural background, of educational background, economic background, and I want you to tell the connecting audience why you should go to your next week. Okay, and I'm going to start with Vaughan because I did stop them in the chat in the last question. So we're going to let Vaughan go. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's arranged tonight's very successful hostings. The election presents us with a clear choice of two futures. More of the same under Labour and the Tories, or a fresh new start with Plaid Cymru. We've had the Labour MP in Llanelli for 93 long years. Let's review where we are. The town centre, threats to Prince Philip Hospital, and savage cuts on the way to Coleg Sir Gar. Labour majority over Plaid Cymru in 2010 was 4,701 votes. We need an MP who won't say one thing locally, like protecting post offices, and then go to London and vote the opposite way. We need to have Llanelli's voice in London, and not the other way around. An MP who opposes Tory cuts, Labour cuts, Trident, welfare cap, the bedroom tax. Whether the faces change between Labour and Tory, the policies are exactly the same. We must invest in public services and fight for fairness. Plaid Cymru is the only party on this platform committed to working for Wales and getting the best deal for all of our people. We demand funding parity with Scotland. Nia didn't answer that question I put to her. Do the people here deserve less than the people get in Scotland? It's a yes or a no answer, Nia. I say to those people sympathetic to Plaid's course, wanting to end 93 years of Labour dominance, lend your vote to Plaid Cymru in May. Put your faith in Plaid. A vote for Plaid is a vote for fairness, equality and justice. A vote for Plaid is a vote for jobs, the NHS, and a vote against another 5 years of disastrous cuts. A vote for Plaid is a vote against the Tory, both red and blue. Help us create history next Thursday. Let's finally have Llanelli's future in Llanelli's hands.
We've only got one planet. The effect of human activity on our planet is enormous. To green, sustainable development means living within the Earth's finite resources, whilst preserving and enriching the fabric of society. This means sharing these limited resources fairly. Our actions should take account of the well-being of others and the future generations. A healthy society is based on social justice, cooperation and respect for those who are different. A society without prejudice. Let's look after our towns, our country and our planet. We need more love, less war. The Green Party now has over 70,000 members, way more than any other party in Wales and England. In fact, last week I was saying over 60,000 members. It's now over 70,000. Our youth membership is higher than any other party. These people share our concerns, are unhappy with the state of society. But they also share our hopes for a better future world. Join us. Vote Green for change, vote Green for hope, vote Green for the common good. But most importantly of all, vote with your hearts.
Next Thursday, I would ask you to vote Labour, because in Westminster you need big parties to make change. It's only a Labour UK government which can deliver on the traditional Llanelli values. It is only a Labour UK government which can bring the deficit down much more gradually, making those with the broadest shoulders bear the greatest burden, and making sure that the vulnerable and the less well-off are protected. We want to see an economic prosperity which is shared by the many across Wales and not just by the privileged few. We want to secure fair funding for Wales and protect our frontline services. With 650 MPs in Westminster, the smallest parties like Green with 1 MP and Plaid with 3 MPs who don't even want to be there cannot make a difference. They simply cannot make a difference. I'm sorry, Chair, I don't think comments from the platform are appropriate from other members of the panel, right? When I'm speaking. It is only Labour which can kick the Tories out and bring the change that Llanelli desperately needs.
Well, as I've explained, my position is simply to represent you and to actually listen to you and be guided by you. Now, any government should really look after, support and protect its people and nurture the economy, education, health service, everything. And why hasn't that happened here in Llanelli? I think there are many reasons. Some of them are political, some of them are just economic and geographical. But basically, any government, whether it's the UK government in Westminster or the Assembly government in Cardiff, or our own county council, maybe even our own local councils, should be ashamed at what has happened to Llanelli, because this is a good town full of good people, and if you don't feel neglected, I certainly living here feel that this town has been neglected, and we need change, and we definitely haven't got any definite change from the people here. You may think that you hear this all the time from various politicians of what they're going to do for you. And I turn it round and I say, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to tell me to do? What ideas are you going to give about this town? Because one of the problems, or maybe the largest, is that nobody has asked you. You know, do you want a Debenhams here? Do you want a cinema moved over here and theatre there? A big, strange building with a hotel on top? I mean, did anyone ask you? I mean, we've had ridiculous development in this town, and we've had no development of our prospects. So vote for me, because I'm your best bet.
Over the last 5 years, Welsh Conservatives have demonstrated the strength of our commitment to Wales. We have invested more money in big infrastructure projects in Wales than ever before. We brought the NATO and international summits to Wales. We fought to secure rail electrification for South Wales and Valley lines, and we set out the most robust and ambitious package of further devolution to Wales in a generation. Time and again, when it comes to the big issues that matter to Wales, Labour talk about it, Welsh Conservatives deliver it. Either Ed Miliband or David Cameron will be the Prime Minister next week. And if you deliver a Plaid or Labour MP here, you have already heard from Plaid they will not work with the Conservatives. So you will end up with Labour policies and more of the same here in town. So avoid a colourful coalition of chaos with Nicola Sturgeon pulling the strings, and stick with the Conservatives' long-term economic plan. Bring real change to Llanelli and vote Tory.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, all the interest people are showing in contacting UKIP at our office, we are confident of a good number of votes come next Thursday. Certainly we'll be increasing considerably on our previous polling, and people might be in for quite a surprise. We have found that many of the elderly are quite patriotic in turning to UKIP. They've had enough of both Labour and Conservative. And in our door-to-door canvassing, people are telling us, thank you for saying what we think. Our manifesto policy literature gives them something to believe in. We stand on uncontrolled immigration, controlling our borders, the high cost of living, the National Health Service, and foreign aid that we are giving away to wealthy countries. That's not cutting out foreign aid. That's making sure it is spent in the right way and it's not creamed off anywhere. Cooperatively, we should be working together and not quarrelling all the time. The EU has controlled us and come at the end of the meeting, and some of you might be lucky there's enough copies here. Come and see the story of the stolen seas, how our lands, how our seas have been taken over, our fishing industry has been decimated. We are aware of the political opponents keen to attack UKIP because we state the truth and as it is. UKIP does not hide behind agendas that we do not make, and we do not make wild promises. Our manifesto is fully costed independently, so we are able to substantiate our promises and assurances. I will do my best to represent you. I'm lying to Llanelli, I'm lying with UKIP. Diolch yn fawr.
Next Thursday and the next 5 years are going to be quite key and an important period. And they're going to demonstrate that no main party in Britain today represents the majority of working class and ordinary people in Britain today. What do people want in this country? I mean, any poll on these pledges I'm about to read out demonstrates that they're supported by the vast majority of people. To end caps and austerity, to have a democratic society run in the interests of everybody, to have trade union rights to fight low pay, a £10 an hour minimum wage, and to scrap 0-hour contracts, to have a mass council house building programme and immediate introduction of rent controls to sort out the housing crisis we have, to scrap student fees so free education is a right for all, and for democratic public ownership of our NHS, to have that fully funded and the fat caps thrown out, to have the railways, the public utilities, the energy companies all use and brought into public ownership so they benefit working class and ordinary people, and to sort out the banking system so we can control the wealth in our society for us. Let's create a mass working class party that does stand for these things and will deliver them in the future. I'm, like I said, just a working class person, a working class fighter, a trade unionist. That's what I do in my day-to-day life in the workplace and in the community. I fight for working class people, and that's why we're doing Parliament. Like I said, I would only take a worker's wage. Let's put a socialist workers MP on a worker's wage in Parliament. Let's change things. Let's create a new force in our society to change things for the better. So yes, vote for TUSC, vote for me. But also join us and let's create a party for the millions, not the millionaires. Thank you.
So we've come to the close now, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to see if we can give the candidates another show of our appreciation, because they've come here tonight, they've put up with our questions, they've put up with our technical problems, and I think they've done a really fantastic job, and we've had a really good breadth of views tonight. So thank you very much, Scott, Sean, Vaughan, Guy, Delaney and Ken. Thank you very much.
Can we have a similar applause, please, for the people who put this on, because it's been wonderful.